Seguimos en FutureCon 2015 haciendo un panel con la empresa CSG Internacional y vamos a tratar una variedad de temas bastante importantes con respecto a lo que los operadores tienen que hacer para colocar al usuario en el centro de los servicios y contenido de los operadores para que estos puedan competir, por ejemplo, contra otros operadores y contra los OTTs. Tenemos un panel, 3 caballeros que nos van a ayudar a navegar en este asunto tan importante que se está convirtiendo en uno de los debates más prominentes del sector de las telecomunicaciones, que es cómo hacer que el operador pase de ser una casa de ingeniería a una casa de servicios orientadas al usuario. Gentlemen, welcome to telesemana.com.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you here. So let's start with the first question, the obvious question, is we're seeing the operators trying to evolve or transform their operations in a way where they are no longer perceived as an engineering warehouse where they can build networks, to a company or a business that can address user needs, what you guys call the digital subscriber.
Right.
How does an operator make such a move, such a transformation, when they've been operating always under the old paradigm?
That's a very interesting question, Rafa. And I think that they all have realized that the customer that they used to service, that was a voice customer, SMS customer, is no longer there. So the realization is very vivid for them. They have recognized that they need to transform themselves to capture that elusive customer, that it used to be the 3-minute call, 5-minute call on average, and now is the Twitter, the Facebook, the YouTube, call it whatever innovative services are. So they have realized they need to transform. Now, do they need to evolve or transform quickly? That's where they are. All of them are on a journey towards a transformation to cater to that digital subscriber. And I think that it will take the next 4 or 5 years to get most of the carriers in the world, all the CSPs, to realize and transform themselves to service that. How they're going to have to innovate, they're going to have to open up their networks, they're going to be digital carriers.
Okay, in terms of content and services, or services
Yes.
and content, what do operators need to do to make sure the user is well addressed, as you would see with some of the OTTs? For example, when we speak about Netflix, everybody agrees that they have a great algorithm to make sure to recognize the user, so it
Right.
can provide the service and it can provide the movies that user might be up to in terms of tastes. So how do we do that?
So what we're seeing in the market, we have a product called Asunder that we've had in the market for about 8 years now. It serves the video OTT market and then the other markets that are adjacent to that, like music, gaming, and then all the other digital services that are now starting to come on board. And so we've been working with customers like Disney and content providers, I should say, like Disney and Sony Pictures and Warner Brothers initially.
So you are working with them?
We are. We actually
But those
do.
would be the OTTs, right?
They are the OTTs.
Okay.
So we're providing a service that that they are using to launch their OTT services. We're also working, as you know, with the service providers. And what's great about the solution is that it's actually an overlay that the service providers can launch quickly to work with their existing platforms and systems.
Okay.
So we're not asking them to take everything out to add an OTT service. It's really a digital overlay that allows them
an
to.
OTT, over the top.
It's an over the top, but it's our service is offered software as a service. They can get up and running in as little as 3 months, and that's with full catalog and DRM protection and across as many devices as they want to go across.
Okay. What about services?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we're all said though, the big challenge at the moment is how we deal with the OTT players and make our customers more competitive. The answer isn't simply putting in new systems and new applications, it's about how do we deal with the legacy platforms that are there. CSG, and in particular in Latin America, we're investing a lot in centers of excellence so we can bring the domain expertise that we have and help consolidate those legacy platforms, deliver efficiency, take out complication and ensure the customer is front-ending the activity and investing in areas that will determine an improved customer satisfaction. So we're helping deal with that legacy. They can focus on the new world and driving next generation services and applications.
All right, before we move forward, and to just provide some background to the audience, they should know, tell us who CSG is very quickly, and then we'll proceed with the discussion.
CSG is
I
a
think we have started the
BSS.
house from the roof.
Yeah, CSG is a leading BSS provider. We have very cool, pertinent products. We combine products, services, and systems to solve business problems. We differentiate from other providers because we're not just a solution designer. we operate most of the solutions that we sell into the CSPs. So that makes a big differentiation. When I tell you that we invoice 60 million customers, we print 60 million bills every month in North America, then you're saying these guys know how to operate. We have the know-how. It's not an aspirational desire that we have that we're going to become one. We are one already. We have the same problems that any CSP faces for operating their IT infrastructure, and we solve them.
All right, let's move to, again, trends in market. Okay. OTTs are there. They're going to stay there. They're getting bigger, more powerful. They're getting more revenue out of the operators. And obviously operators are looking for solutions. What would be the options they would have if they would work, if they are working with CSG? What can they do, and how can you help them compete on the OTT arena?
It's a combination. It's a combination of what I said: system, processes, and people that we put together to solve their problems. I think is as Jim said, we have a solution today that is being used by OTTs. It doesn't preclude any of the CSPs to become their own OTT and transform themselves. We heard that they are transforming and becoming more nimble, more open. You will see infrastructure being changed in a CSP to virtualize, with the objective of opening up the network and the facilities so that you would have a CSP in Latin America have a software-defined kit or an API and make it available to developers that will develop services like they're doing today at Google or iTunes or somewhere else. Those resources that today are in the network, they will become available.
Now, let me ask you something from the content and services side, which is related to the OTTs. We always heard, at the beginning there was kind of a confusion. Are they competitors? Are they partners? Are they both? Can they become operators, clients? He mentioned the APIs. I'm assuming some of these big OTT players, they want to actually get into the network as much as they can. And we've seen that even they offering to put hardware within those networks to make their services better. Can they become clients of the operators, and if so, how? Is that an option?
I think absolutely it can be an option. And I do think that the market is changing so very quickly with all of these new services being offered that the operators have to kind of open up their networks, take advantage of the hardware that they are putting in, to be able to allow all these different services to be offered by, or I should say through them. If they don't, I'm not sure where they go from there. So the market is changing very quickly. We've seen trends and kind of a wireline going, wireline revenues going down and mobile revenues going down now. Data revenues starting to go down. OTT is really, and I should say not just OTT, but digital services is really the next thing that they are going to see an increase in their revenue. And what we're starting to see with some of our clients, we work with Comcast, which is really a CSP in the US. They came from a cable background, but I think you're seeing that here with the Nets and the Claros and all kind of combining into one service. And they're offering a video service that again is tied to their traditional service. We offer that for them, and again, it was an overlay solution that customers are able to purchase video content, and then it's available on their digital devices, or purchase on their digital devices and available on their traditional set-top boxes. So I think that bridge is happening. To kind of come back to what you're saying, it's like they've got to figure out ways to make those kind of work together, and then open up their network to others.
What else from the services?
Yeah, again, an excellent question, Rafa. I think the key thing here is, I talked earlier about dealing with legacy systems. Customers will need new thinking, will need different types of resource going forward. How we partner, how we utilize engagements and partnerships with OTTs will be key. CSG can structure risk management around managing the legacy, so we'll take over the resources and deliver those. Manage the legacy environments. Performance-bound, SLA-bound contracts, flexible commercials that give them the money and the investment to ensure that they're getting the right resources and the right levels of technology to migrate to that next generation of service. And I think we play very well there. And give us the domain expertise, let us manage that risk for you. You focus on driving the customer engagement and the overall customer, the overall enhanced experience.
Okay, now one thing that obviously you are showing a lot of expertise in terms of allowing the operators to transform in the direction that everybody agrees they need to go to. I don't know how you would deal with the fact that many agree that many times it's not the technology that needs to be at the center of the discussion, but the structure of the operators themselves. So how do you deal, for example, if you go to an operator with those scenarios, you might have to probably deal with network and content and IT, and bring those guys all together and say, listen, now you cannot start thinking from the network side or the services side or the IT side. Now you need to all three get together and talk to each other. And are you finding that operators structure is more difficult to overcome than technology, given the fact that you have the technology?
Yes.
Now you have to implement it in a place that you're saying you need to open up and be flexible, but where you're going is not open and it's unflexible.
It is a difficult part. Let me just answer your question. It is very difficult because you're having to change it. People and processes is what takes longer. You're transforming the company, but with the premise that customer that we were serving is no longer there. If we continue to say that we're going to have a voice dedicated network, then you're going to die eventually. It's not dead, but it's decaying. I think the statistics show that they lost like 100,000 subscribers in wireline just in Brazil. And that statistic will continue. So they have that realization. How do they change that? It's not going to be from one day to the next, but processes and people will be the longer pole in that transformation. The systems are there. How you implement them has an implication of transforming the company because it's a new business model. It's no longer a single thing. It will be resources that you make available. People will pay for using the resources. I might have virtualized servers that you invoke. I might have information. I have a big data with all my assets, my customers, and that's what is valuable about the telcos. What is valuable about the telcos is that I have a secure environment. I'm very close to my customer because I have been serving them, and I have a network that I will make available. So how do we combine those things and to say the new company will be this shape and will cater to the new customers that are there? What are the new customers is what Jim was mentioning. Is my son that under 30 that never buys a set-top box or a cable. He watches his video content wherever he wants, whenever he wants, right? And that's the customer. How do we cater? How do they reinvent themselves, package services that are pertinent to him, right? That's the new telco.
Now, when you talk about doing, for example, you mentioned the Comcast case, and it's one of the cases where you are implementing these solutions. I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about that transformation within how you're seeing that operator adopting these new technologies that will allow them to be more open.
Yes.
And how are the changes that you're seeing structurally within the operator? How is that happening? I don't know if you can...
So I'll answer your second question first because it follows on with what Raul was saying. I think that what we're seeing is that the companies are being a little more market and product driven than they were in the past, which was very, I think, IT driven, which is just the nature of how the industry evolved. Now we're seeing that they have to get products out in the market. Marketing saying, can we launch this sort of service, and can you do it for us in the next 3 months? And we can go in and say yes, because we have a solution that was created for it, that we've been creating for the last 8 years. That's an overlay that abides by all their standards. And so we're typically many times talking to the marketing people and talking to them about what the products they want to, and then giving them the solution that will help them launch that product, which previously it used to be driven, at least from our perspective, the other way. Your second question was, can you give an insight about what we're doing with Comcast? So with Comcast, we're actually providing, as I said, the service that allows them to order on the device and watch on their traditional set-top box, or order on their set-top box and watch on their device. We're pretty much managing the device areas. So we actually cover, not for Comcast specifically, we are across about 17 different devices with our products. So set-top boxes, IP set-top boxes, Android, iOS, Roku, television sets like Samsung and LG. What they're finding that once they have this digital services platform called Asunder, again in place, they found that they can launch other services that are adjacent, as I mentioned, to it. So an example is they launched something called Comcast University. And what it is it's a way for them to get some of the customers that Raul was mentioning that are no longer, or may not, the traditional. These are going after the college students that are probably not going to be typical subscribers to a set-top box service. And what they're doing is they are giving them free service through the university, So they use their university ID, they log in, they get a subset of the channels that they would get over their set-top boxes. They get it on their devices, and then they can order additional services on top of it. So premium services like HBO or paper or VOD or so, yeah. So they might have to pay additional for those. So that has been a very successful service for them. And so what they're looking is, or what they can do basically now is take new digital services and then offer them basically through our platform without having to go to IT and create a whole new business set. And I think, Carl, you could probably talk about how
I think, we know about complications around people, process, technology in terms of driving transformation. The biggest trend we're seeing now is customers, when they're sitting down with us and going through those negotiations, will we sign up to and underpin business-based outcomes? So we're seeing a much different commercial dialogue going on with the clients now, much more attuned, much more aggressive SLAs, but much more demands about, hey, you want to be a partner? Invest in our business. Front end with regards to our success and have skin in the game, and that's been a dynamic change, I think, in the industry over the last 3 or 4 years. You're seeing much more astute procurements going on in the CSPs.
Okay, now let's get back to the market. And for what you are saying, the theme is kind of segmentation. What I'm seeing here is the operator's capability to segment. And you're saying, okay, we have something for the guys at the university, then we have something for 40-year-old men, and then we have something for whatever. Does segmentation will have to reach a point where you are going to one person?
I don't know if I would call it what they were doing segmentation. I would look at it saying it's another market for them, which was not a market before. We can do segmentation, basically, and our customers are doing very specific segmentation for the markets that they're in. So to give you another example, Sony Pictures uses us for their OTT product kind of globally. And they're offering an EST VOD service with ultraviolet. I'm not sure if you've heard of ultraviolet, but it's a standard basically across the world or throughout Europe, parts of Asia, and they're managing that all through one operation in California. So what it knows is when I log into my device, where I am, who I am, where I'm coming from, do I have the rights to view it in that area, and then what are my pricing policies. And then we even know who you are then, based on some transactions or information that you provided to the solution, so then we could target basically offers to them. So it kind of takes it down from the level of very high level, from where am I geographically, to then who am I within my, because everybody's basically operating at a device level versus at a house level or at a it's very granular, so we can get very personalized with the offers.
Okay. Any comments on segmentation? No. Let me bring something that also is on the discussion of the transformation, which is real time. I don't know if you can comment on the importance of real time, which it seems like it's now a key component of everything we're doing these days. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that.
It's a component, but it has been transformed. It's no longer the charging real time.
Yes.
It's making a decision in real time. It's using that big data that is there to make a decision based on a criteria, your location, your likes, and suggesting an outcome, right?
So you're saying it's key?
It's key, of course. Real time is key. It's key for changing the business. When we say that the CSPs are transforming, they are allowing new creative services. And I was thinking about, could you develop something like Uber without having a clever device that can present that, without mapping technology, without location services, and without a reliable network? And there is your timeliness. I no longer have to schedule my taxi to pick me up next morning when I go to the airport. I know that I can do it in 3 minutes, and all of that. And the payment is real time to your credit card, and you get your receipt. That's a clever service that the telco could have hosted, could have created, could have served.
Which means that many are not.
But somebody had the idea before, right? But they don't have today the open hooks to allow some third party to use the resources. They will have it once they transform, right? And the key there, I think, is the huge database, the huge analytics capability that they offer to make decisions real time, to offer services real time. If I am going by a restaurant and they know that I like Italian food, send me a message with an offer, and 9 out of 10 times I will be attracted to go in. So the merchant can pay a portion. That kind of thing is there because you have transformed the network, you are using those capabilities, and not waiting for somebody clever over the top to come in and say, I have a service that does that.
And I do think, excuse me, that they're best positioned to manage these sort of customer relationships. I really do. You know, as I said, we're working with a lot of the OTT providers, many of them who don't have the skill, or don't have the experience, I should say, of managing a customer, marketing to customers, managing a customer experience, upselling to customers, doing targeted offers. So I think a lot of OTT players are in the market now, trying to figure out, should they be in it, should they not be in it? And I think what you're going to see is, I think you're going to see that for a long time. I think as the market starts to figure itself out, or shakes out, I should say. But what I do think is that our traditional customers, the CSPs, are very well positioned to own the market if they jump on it and do it relatively quickly. You can only lose so much share or mind share with the market before they don't think of you as the main person that you go to for these types of services.
Last question. Let's move out of the humans and let's go for the future. We're seeing the IoT everywhere. How does that change that transformation? Because now we're thinking about, okay, you like this, you want to do that, I'm going to charge you for this, all in real time. But suddenly now we are talking about, I don't know, the refrigerator talking to the washing machine, or I don't know for what reason would the refrigerator talk to the washing machine. But, you know, we're trying to connect all these devices that are going to be doing things on their own, and sometimes with a human component. How does that change the transformation process? Is there anything to consider to prepare your infrastructure for that future?
Yeah, on the network side, you really need to consider that. We currently have, I think, 7 billion devices in the world, and it's going to go by 2020 to 50 billion. So that's humongous growth. How do you absorb that growth? When we're creating transactions because someone is placing a call or sending a message, that's one thing. But when my home is sending status about my temperature or the refrigerator on all of those, that multiplies by n degree the number of transactions. Are the systems capable? Is the network elastic? So that becomes the initiatives that we're looking about: network function virtualization, software-defined networks, open APIs, security in the network, because I'm allowing you to get into my home. All of those things become very, very key for you to really massively launch IoT. Today we have instances of IoT, but to really say that I'm going to put 50 billion devices there, that's huge transformation. Every single network has to be transformed in the world to capture that. And there will be a lot of business. The business models would change, the cost per transaction has to be different, taxation, regulation has to change, because we know here in Brazil and Latin America, a lot of taxation on telecommunications that should not be pertinent to reloading a Coke machine because it's empty, right? So that, it's a whole new ballgame. So.
You want to add something on IoT from your perspective?
No, I guess, you know, we're very focused on ensuring that we have a number of flexible operating models that can support our customers as their business world changes. CSG will continue to invest and develop those. I think there's a lot of unpredictability in the future of IoT, but CSG will be there at the forefront with products, with people, with processes, and the services wrap that can support our customers to be successful in driving that forward in the future.
It's on the content side. Anything on IoT, or you?
Absolutely, we're ready for it.
Can't
wait for it.
Okay. All right. Terrific. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here and clarifying some of the components of the transformation CSPs need to undergo to become competitive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.